Hi, Sheryl, and thank you so much for joining me today for your FAB Members Business Showcase. So please share with us a little bit about what you do and how long you've been doing it for to get started.
So I help people to manage themselves and their time. And I've been doing that as my own business for 15 years this year.
Okay, so what inspired you to start your business then? What were you doing before then that got you going into the way you mentioned that then
Yeah,
as if you were doing it longer than 15 years?
I think I've always been doing that. So my previous roles were I was manager for Halifax for 12 years, and then I became a consultant for Slimming World, and I did that for 9 years, and then went on to be an area manager with them as well. So I've always been in kind of management roles where my job was to find out what was going to motivate these people to achieve whatever they wanted to achieve. But in Slimming World, I think the first 3 or 4 years, it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's really helping people who are losing loads of weight. And I felt like I'd really found my thing. But 5, 6 years later, then you start to have those members you first worked with in the first couple of years coming back with having gained more weight. And you start to think, actually, this isn't the solution. It's not helping long term. And then I was having lots of conversations behind the scenes about difficult conversations with partners or family members because they weren't happy with the changes. And then I went through change. I was going through a divorce and I was struggling then to be this motivational person up front. So I was looking for more tools in my toolkit, and I came across coaching, and I signed up for the diploma in May 2006 and got the distinction in 2008. And that just, I accidentally became self-employed because the last chapter or the last module of that coaching thing was how to set up a coaching practice. And I'm just such a good girl. I followed it all the way through and just launched a business, and I don't remember consciously thinking, oh, it'd be a really good idea to become self-employed with my own company. But that's what kind of happened.
Okay, so tell me what your favorite thing is about your work then, and how you do it, and what's your favorite bit about it.
So after I got trained in the personal performance coaching, I came across a process called clean language, and for me, using clean language means you reflect back what the person's saying exactly and their gestures, so they get to hear themselves from a different perspective. And the moment when they realize they already knew the answer, and I think about your quote, you already knew, you just had to find it for yourself, the Ruby Shoes quote, that's the moment when they realize they already knew. They just needed the space and the time and someone to listen to help them access their own inner wisdom. That's the bit that I love. And I can think of a client this week, and I said, what worked? He said, oh, it's just so reassuring to know that I already knew the answer, because he's got a massive vision and he thought he didn't know where to start, but he does. So that's my best bit. I love
watching. So sort of teasing out, helping people find what's already there. That's your favorite bit. So what's your least favorite thing about being self-employed then?
I think more recently it's been the marketing. And I think that's because there's so much you can do. And I realized for myself, I just got tired of trying to put stuff out there. And probably not taking my own advice, really, trying to do lots of different ones that suits other people's style, instead of really doing what I do with my clients, is actually going, what works for you, and sort of going back instead of just following it because somebody else does it and it does it really well for them. I've had to sort of regroup and go back to actually, well, I've run my own business, this one 15 years, but I've been self-employed 24 years. And actually I've done marketing in lots of different ways, whether it's been in collaborative partnerships or joint ventures. And actually there was different ways to market it. So I'd say more recently, the thing that was getting me frustrated was marketing, but I'm just on a little journey now to sort of reconfigure again, which is, I guess that's the hard bit about it, is you're always having to do that, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
You always have to update your model.
So this is one of my favorite questions to ask everybody. So what do you wish you knew when you first set up in business? What do you know now that you wish you knew then?
To value my difference rather than thinking there's something wrong with me. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that the brain's hardwired to spot patterns and to look for similarities in order to keep you safe. And I think I'd been so focused on wanting to find people who thought the same as me or felt the same as me, so that it made me being okay, rather than realizing actually if you've got the tools and the skills to listen to all different kinds of people, then actually it makes it okay for all of us to be different, rather than have to keep fit into the box. That does still makes it challenging because we're all quirky and we can all trigger and annoy each other. But yeah, being okay with my differences rather than keep trying to change to please other people.
Embracing your uniqueness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And knowing that, it doesn't always work for me and it doesn't always work for other people. And that's okay.
Yeah. There's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there?
Yeah. So for people like me, feel that as you just said that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So because our brains work quite different, it was similar in a lot of ways, but then there's this real difference, isn't there? And I just find
Absolutely.
it fascinating how you perceive things. It's not on my radar at all.
No,
so,
no.
Yeah,
And it can be my gift and my nemesis all at the same time.
probably
so
for all of us.
I'm just learning when to hold it back and when not to.
So obviously you've been a member of the FAB Business Club pretty much since it started, haven't you? You were there with me cheerleading.
Absolutely.
What inspired you to join? What was it about it that made you think, yeah, I want to sort of be part of this?
Well, as you say, we'd been talking already. So I'd already been part of Project FAB, and I'd been doing the style group and learning about my personal brand, and actually just being around you where you knew these rules and stuff about style, but you kept going, if you love it, that's all that matters. And it was really hard for me to work out whether I loved it because I'd been so conditioned to work out what other people like and then trying to be that in order to fit in. So I think that was the first thing, because that was my first experience with you. And then we did accountability, and just you really encouraged me to turn up and actually say I'm having a bad week isn't really in my nature, because my conformist wants to always look professional and doesn't want to say anything. So actually having those conversations with you. So I'd had an experience of me being me was okay and me being not okay was okay. But I didn't join straight away. You might remember or not that it took me a couple of months. And it's mainly because it was female, authentic and ballsy. And I kind of went, I don't think I'm ballsy enough. And when you say about pearl snatchers, who people don't like swearing, I don't like swearing. I do swear, by the way, but I don't like it. And I think I can still hear my granddad and my mum. And so I had a bit of doubt whether it would be okay for me. But I realized that I'd really like to be more ballsy. So I decided that I wanted to be around people who were either on that journey to be more authentic, more ballsy, or I discovered that maybe I was more ballsy than I thought I was already. So that's a very long answer, but that's basically, to get more balls maybe.
And the thing is, as you know, I used that word specifically as a self-selecting, it's kind of like, well, if you're a bit about that, probably not going to be the right place for you. So, it's worth
and even now with your sweary calendars and all that, I still do that. I still feel very uncomfortable with it, but I think what I love about it is that it's an environment where, even though I'm uncomfortable, it's okay for me to be uncomfortable with it, and I'm not being judged. Especially because it's a bit hypocritical, because I do swear and then I say I don't want something with swearing in writing. So I think that's the whole thing, is that it's a safe space to be whoever I am.
Yeah.
And that's what ballsy means. It's not really about, you have to swear in order to fit in.
Oh no.
we would never get another word in Edgeway, would we?
So what's your favourite thing about being a member of the FAB Business Club?
The people that you attract. They are strong, determined, vibrant, successful in all different kinds of ways, with it's just a huge network and a resource of skills and talent. But a lot of us have experience being in a group and not feeling like we belong. And so there's a real camaraderie and commitment to inclusion and acceptance of what is, rather than trying to change who they are. even from the point of people do say about having a bad day or something's going wrong. There isn't a load of what I would term rescuing. People aren't there trying to make it better, because there is you'll get through this, you're okay. And then we check to see if there is anything needed, but there isn't a load of, it's not a case of pampering around us when we're not having it. It's just allowing people to have a space to say, actually, I ain't the world today.
Yeah, it's empathy rather than sympathy.
Yeah,
I think is
and there's also something about, I remember me feeling like if I show that side, people might lose sight of my strength. So I think the thing is, people don't lose sight of all the things you're good at just because they see you having a wobbly moment. I think it's a community that recognizes those wobbly moments are just that, they're moments in time. They're an expression of how you feel for a moment, but it doesn't define how you're going to show up in an hour's time with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's ridiculous, because I deal with it all the time in my world. I see people upset, and I don't think any less of them. But for me, there was still a fear that everybody else could do it, but I couldn't. That wasn't okay.
And I think in business and in like typical networking, that's very common, which is why I absolutely wanted the space to be not that.
Yeah.
So
but equally, it could have gone the other way though, Lisa, and it hasn't. And I really need to be sort of clear if anyone's watching this, is because I have been in environments where people are encouraged to speak, but it becomes a real sort of what I call, it's all about what's not working. So if you talk about drama, there's all that like victim. So I think because they're self-aware, because they're strong, courageous people, they are expressing how they feel in order to get rid of it, not to dump it on somebody else, and not to get stuck in it. There's enough wisdom to know that this too will pass.
Yeah.
And we're sharing it because it's nice not to feel alone with it, but not because you want to get stuck in it, if that makes sense.
Not a pity party. Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah. It's not that. And I don't really always like when people call negative Nellies, but it's like, it's not being shared to get people to say that you're right to feel the way you are, kind of thing, or to keep you there. It is to sort of release it and to be able to feel better as a result of doing it, rather than getting stuck in amongst all your not so good stuff.
Well, I do appreciate the fact that you did join eventually, despite
I was only about 3 months behind.
So if anyone's watching this and they want to know a bit more about what you do and how you do it and want to get hold of you, where's the best place to find you?
So the website is stepbysteplistening.com, and the academy is the main thing to keep an eye out for, the Do Delegate or Ditch Academy, or find me on Facebook, Step by Step Listening there as well, or Sheryl Andrews on LinkedIn.
Lovely. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sheryl, and I shall look forward to seeing you at a meeting very soon.
I look forward to it too.